Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third brand owner interview series on how to grow your brand with Amazon. Today, we're talking about a really interesting topic, which is expanding your brand globally. I'm Jana. I'm part of the Amazon Seller University team. And before I introduce you to my interview partner, Ben, let's wait some minutes to give everyone the chance to join. And while we are waiting, I can tell you already some information on the interview. So the interview will not last longer than 1 hour. Also, as we did the last times, it will be recorded and uploaded to Seller University afterwards, so you can directly access it at any time. What is different compared to the first interviews we had is that today we actually have a chat support. So my colleague Alina from the Amazon Global Selling team will be there to answer your questions. But please note that she can only answer questions that are relevant to the majority of selling partners. So don't ask any very, very specific questions that she will not be able to answer. Okay. This about the interview itself. And while we are still waiting, I have one other very important announcement to make, which is that Amazon has launched a new program, which is called New Seller Incentives. And New Seller Incentives is a suite of benefits that should help you as a new selling partner grow your brand, scale your business, and also promote your products. And if you are a new selling partner that has launched its first product on or after the 1st of January this year, you can become eligible to receive those benefits. And as you can see in the slide here, we basically have 3 buckets of different benefits, which is brand registry incentives, fulfillment by Amazon incentives, and advertising incentives. And overall, those incentives have a potential value of more than £40,000. So really great opportunity that you should not miss out. And if this sounds interesting for you, right now you can join our webinar on New Seller Incentives, which is hosted on April the 20th. You can also find this slide as an attachment in the panel on the right-hand side to download, so you can register for the webinar in there. But if you don't want to wait that long, you can also have a look at the other resources I have added at the bottom of the page. All right, this about new seller incentives. And now I see that more people have joined, so I don't want to let you wait any longer, and we can start right into the interview. So welcome again to everyone who has just joined. Welcome to our third interview on how to grow your brand on Amazon. Today we are thinking big and we are talking about global expansion, on how you can expand your brand globally. So I'm Jana, and with me today is not Santi as we had it the last 2 interviews, but with me today is his co-founder, Ben. So Ben, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you, and especially thank you for joining on such short notice.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
All right. So as we did also last time, we start with an official introduction so everyone knows who you are and what your business is all about. So for everyone who don't know already, Ben is one of our selling partners and co-founder of the brand Supportybag. Together with Santi and another friend, he has founded Supportybag back in 2016, and since then they are selling their brand on Amazon. And what can I say? It seems to be working quite well, as they are selling around 3,000 to 5,000 units per day with their brand Supportybag. And this is only one of the reasons they got also awarded as Best New Release by the Amazon Accelerator last year. So Ben and also Santi, they are the perfect partners to answer all the questions related to brand growth on Amazon. And today I will pick Ben's brain on global expansion. And Ben, my first question for this would be, can you tell us where are you currently selling? What are the marketplaces and countries you're currently selling in?
Yeah, It's hard to keep up with Amazon. They expand so fast in so many new markets. So there's always more to be done. But right now we sell in all of the North American marketplaces. So the US, Canada, Mexico, and then all the European marketplaces. I'll include the UK as part of that. And all the, say, Poland, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, all the new European marketplaces that Amazon has been growing and expanding into.
And how quickly have you been expanding? So when was the first time you started expanding into another marketplace?
Yeah, we started initially in the US and in the UK. And then I would say from the UK, there's some logistical setup, but we expanded rather quickly into the German, France, Italy, and Spain as next markets through the Pan-EU program. I would say that was roughly 1.5, 2 years in from start date.
Cool. Thank you for the information. So I guess that many sellers out there are thinking about global expansion, but are maybe hesitant to actually try it because they think there are so many steps to take, so many things to do. So, Ben, can you help make this a little bit easier for everyone who's listening? So, what are the first and most important steps a seller should take when they want to expand globally, from your opinion?
Absolutely, and I must say, first and foremost, global expansion is an amazing way to grow your business with Amazon. Amazon makes it overall very, very easy to expand globally and to reach millions and millions of customers in new countries. So it's one of the greatest opportunities that I see out there. So it's it's great. It can seem daunting. Like you said, there's a lot of different steps, a lot of different countries, regulations, supply chain to think about. I would, as a first layer, I would probably boil it down to 3 things that are most important to think of. One being the initial research, secondly being the building the team and creating the network, and thirdly looking at the capital and the inventory. So if we look at the initial research, like I hinted at, Amazon has many marketplaces and many countries that they're selling in, and they're constantly growing that list of new countries and entering new markets, which is very exciting. But similar to what you would do when you launch a new product from scratch, doing the sales analysis and looking at some of the metrics to determine if this is a good category or a good product to launch. The first thing is to analyze, if I have a brand that's selling, say, only in Germany right now, does it make sense to sell in the UK? What does the demand look like in the UK? Are there other products that are already selling successfully in the UK? To determine and do that initial market research and competitor research. Once you have a rough idea or I guess a more refined idea of, yes, the UK should be a marketplace for me to launch, or whatever the marketplace may be, and you have an idea of what sales to expect in terms of units and what that should look like, then it's about building the team to help you accomplish this goal. Amazon has great partner services that can help you if you think about all the things that need to go into this, right? So you need updated imagery, you need updated copy for the listing. Oftentimes you need regulation support, you need VAT or tax support. Amazon has a long list of partners that can help you accomplish and overcome some of those hurdles. And then thirdly, it's about the capital and the inventory. So based on your research, and this is obviously the most important part, because you need the inventory in order to be able to generate the sales and to be able to enter the market. You need to look at, one, how much inventory do I actually need? So you need to project out based on that initial research, okay, I expect to sell 100 units of this product in that market. So then you project out at least a couple of months worth of inventory. It depends on your lead times, how long it takes you from manufacturing to actually get to the warehouse. You project out how much inventory you'll need to enter this new market. Once you've determined, okay, this is the amount of inventory I'll need to enter this market, then you need to look at the capital side, right? How am I going to finance that inventory? And there's a lot of ways, and a lot of creative ways, and Amazon helps with this as well, in order to finance that inventory and actually make the hard decision and make the move.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Ben, for providing this. Before we go deeper into inventory and capital, I might want to have or provide some information on the partner network you have been talking about. So maybe for everyone who has never heard of this partner network, there's a part in Seller University which you can access via the menu partner network, and then it says find apps and services, and there, as Ben said, you can have support for compliance, support for taxes, and all kinds of things you would need for global expansion. So that can be of great help. Cool. And now going a little bit deeper into the part on inventory and capital that you have mentioned, as I also think that this is a topic that interests most sellers. You said that Amazon helps you getting inventory. Can you maybe explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Inventory, like I mentioned, is probably one of the biggest challenges to expand and to expand globally. But there are ways to overcome that, and that we successfully, and we've helped and seen a lot of our seller friends and other seller partners overcome the inventory financing successfully in the past. So it can be done. What I'd say is and I would say there's also three parts to this. So first is understanding your numbers very clearly, and your key performance indicators or KPIs. The second would be working with your supplier network and your manufacturer network to see if there's ways you can improve your payment terms. And then the third is working with Amazon Lending and the services that Amazon provides in order to help you. On the first part, in terms of understanding your numbers and your KPIs, it's really important to know, okay, if I sell a product at this price, I'll generate this amount of, I'll have these and these costs associated in terms of product cost, Amazon FBA fees, referral fees, etc., maybe Amazon advertising fees. And this is the amount of return, or in terms of gross profit, that I can generate for this unit. This is my return on investment. And if I sell through 500 units, then I'll break even after the first 500, say. So running the calculation and really understanding, okay, how do my unit economics look, is the first step. There's many Amazon partner softwares out there. Managed by Stats is just one example, where you can upload your landed cost. So you can say, okay, that costs me this much to manufacture the product, and then it costs me this much to ship it to, say, the UK or to the Germany or to the US. And then you can upload that data, and then in the Amazon partner softwares connect directly with Amazon's API. So then they will generate these calculations for you and say, this is how your unit economics look like. This is how your profit and loss looks like. So it's a very, very important step, first of all, to understand. And what those numbers will tell you is whether you can be competitive, right? So if you, kind of touching on my previous point in terms of the initial research, if you're looking at entering a new market and you know what your unit economics are, then you can look at what the pricing range and the competitive landscape looks like in that market. Maybe the competitors are priced higher than in your origin or source marketplace, which most likely would be a good sign, because that would mean you could probably enter this market and even expand your margin. So that's why that's important to see if you can become competitive, and also to make a case for you as an owner, as a selling partner, to see, okay, these are going to be the financial outcomes that I can expect, and this is most likely the financial commitment, and this is when I will be able to break even, and this is the return on investment I can generate from expanding. So that's, I think, the first point. The second point is supplier negotiation. So this means, rather than having to pay all the inventory upfront to the manufacturer, maybe there's ways that you can negotiate and come to an agreement with them where, let's say, you pay only 50% when you place the order with them, and then you pay the remaining 50% 100 days after the product has been produced. And there's many creative ways to go about this. It's a human negotiation with your manufacturer. Ultimately, the biggest thing is to establish a strong relationship with your manufacturer. So that could mean flying out and visiting them, trying to get to know them as people, and more importantly, also showcasing them, hey, if I expand internationally, now that you, based on the first step, you know what the financial outcome could look like of expanding, you can tell them, look, right now I'm producing, say, 1,000 units, but if I expand it into these markets, and Amazon makes it so easy, I could triple that. I'm just using numbers for simplicity. Then you can say, hey, look, but I need the capital to place these 3,000 orders. I don't have all the capital right now. Maybe we can come to an agreement. Your business will grow as my business grows. So I want to place a 3,000 unit order, but maybe I can pay you 50% upfront, and then I'll pay you 50% 90 days, 100 days after you've produced it, and it's already, say, if this were in China, if it's already on the ship. So that's the second point, is working with your suppliers to improve your payment terms. And there's, like I said, an unlimited, there's no rules there. So it's up to you to negotiate whatever you can and come up with creative solutions. The third thing is Amazon Lending, which is an incredible program that Amazon rolled out a few years ago. Amazon offers credit facilities to go out and purchase inventory directly. And this will actually show up in your Seller Central dashboard, and you can apply. It's a very automated, very easy process. And then you can use that funding to purchase inventory with your manufacturer. And some of that inventory you can use to then expand internationally. So that's an amazing opportunity that we've taken advantage of for multiple years now, and it's worked very well.
Very, very good points, Ben. And I really liked what you said first, like having your calculation done and having the safety about this, or knowing really what is going on with your numbers and whether you are competitive, which then makes you a better negotiator also with the suppliers. So that's a really good point. And on Amazon Lending, maybe an information for everyone who's listening. So Amazon Lending has, as you said, rolled out some years ago already in the US. In the UK, however, it is not fully launched yet, but we are currently piloting it in the UK. So currently you can also get the option to have a loan. The team has reached out to brand owners currently offering the loan as part of the pilot, but irrespective of the pilot, you can also reach out to the team, and I will share the email address at the end of the webinar with you, so you can do so to ask for financing options in case that's interesting for you. Just as a side note on Amazon Lending. All right, but Ben, talking about numbers already, what also would be really interesting for sellers is to know how you are actually calculating those projections. I mean, of course, we cannot do a real calculation here, but could you elaborate on this a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot that goes into that, of course. I would say the three main things to watch out for, or to factor into when you're running these calculations yourself, are one, the projected sales for each of the marketplaces that you're looking to expand into. Projected sales meaning also including the pricing landscape. Secondly would be any regulatory and tax costs. And thirdly would be the logistics costs. So those would be the three main things I would keep in mind. On the first one, so the sales per target marketplace, each marketplace will have different demand, right? That may be due to cultural differences or purchasing behavior differences. Certain products that will be super popular in the US may not be popular in the UK or the EU at all, or despite being in Japan, may have completely different popular products than Amazon India. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and to really look on a marketplace basis. So to go open up Amazon India and see, okay, what are the product that I have in my portfolio that I want to expand internationally? How does the competitive landscape here look? Is there sufficient demand? And are those products or competing products of mine in that marketplace, are they seeing traction? Things to look for there would be the Amazon bestsellers rank, to see how compared to all the other products in the catalog or on that browse node, that category, how is this product performing and how is the competition performing? And you can even monitor that over time. So you could say, look, check one day, then check the next day, and a week after, and see trends evolve to estimate, okay, how does the demand in this category trend? The second thing is on regulation and taxes. As you can imagine, if you're expanding from the US to the EU, there's things like VAT to pay attention to and to include in your calculations, be it import VAT and then subtracting all the VAT on that you collect as you sell through the units. And again, I think the best resource there would be the Amazon Partner Services, where there's a whole section on VAT and on tax partners that can help you with that. Other things to keep in mind there are regulatory hurdles or points to consider. You can imagine if you're expanding from the EU into the US, I think we've all heard horror stories of liability concerns and claims of American consumers. So ensuring that one, your product meets all of the compliance standards in that target marketplace, and secondly, that you're also covered from an insurance perspective, so that you can protect your risks and your downside, be it product liability insurance or just a general umbrella insurance policy. And those costs you'd have to factor into your projection, of course. And then the third thing is the logistics costs. You can imagine that shipping a product, say, we take from Asia, so say from China, as I'm sure a lot of you produce over there. If you ship a product from China to the US, that takes less time and is usually slightly less expensive than going from China all the way to Europe or to the UK or Germany. So factoring in what those costs will look like, looking at what the HS code, so those are import duties, and making sure your product is properly classified. So lots of little things on the supply chain side to ensure that you're properly forecasting the right logistics costs. Yeah, I would say those are the three things. So ensuring you have proper forecasting in terms of the sales per the target marketplace, factoring in the tax and regulatory costs and processes, and then thirdly, looking at the logistics and importing costs and the entire supply chain for those new marketplaces.
Mm-hmm. Very helpful, Ben. And when we now look apart from all the forecasts and things you have to do beforehand, I guess also many sellers are wondering, okay, but which of my products in my portfolio should I start with? Or should I go expand with all my products, only with some of them? And in which marketplace should I start? So can you maybe guide us here as well? How did you do that?
Yeah, it's more of an art than a science, I would say. I'd say my first tip here is don't just rely on what you're most aware of. That being said, Amazon Europe is obviously something that a lot of sellers, I think, are aware of expanding within Europe, expanding to the US. That's something a lot of sellers are aware of. There are other marketplaces out there like Japan, Australia, India, UAE, and like I said, Amazon is constantly expanding, Brazil, that are very attractive. So I would, my recommendation would be not to just go with whatever is the standard out there, but to really think and do that sales analysis to see which marketplaces for my specific product actually work the best. It may be that the US may not be the right marketplace for your product, but rather Japan, just because Japanese consumers purchase a lot of the types of products that you launch or that you produce. So I'd really encourage you to look marketplace by marketplace and really go deep into the analysis to see which marketplace makes the most sense. I would also say, in terms of looking which product out of your portfolio to launch or to expand internationally, I would try to initially avoid oversized products or heavily regulated products. The reason for that is oversized products come with a lot of logistics hassle, right? You can imagine the storage fees, the warehousing fees, the pick and pack fees tend to be a lot higher. So there's a greater capital commitment required. Also, the product cost is usually higher, so that means you have to put more inventory and more capital up initially for that inventory order to expand. So I would advise against that if possible, of course. And then heavily regulated products. There may be certain categories, electronics, skincare, certain categories and certain markets that may be more heavily regulated. And a lot of compliance work has to be done upfront to make sure that you're selling a fully compliant product that adheres to all the procedures and all the requirements, all the testing in that marketplace. So if at all possible, I would rather than having to spend months and months getting your product fully compliant for that new marketplace, if you have a product that maybe requires less ramp up in terms of compliance, maybe going ahead with that product first, assuming it has the demand and all the other criteria. I would maybe go ahead with that first to establish a foothold in that marketplace, to establish, okay, this is how it works, this is how the supply chain is going to work. So you've seen the process, because that will then enable you much faster and much quicker and better to expand the remainder of your portfolio or the other products that you're launching. Yeah, and then I think one final tip there is, like I said, consumer behavior is very different in the different markets. So maybe there's also a way that you could, when you look at your portfolio and you determine which product to expand, maybe there's a way that you could modify your product slightly to fit that market. So maybe the Japanese customer has, based on your research, you're seeing they have different requirements or different consumer preferences. So maybe there's a slight tweak or in the packaging, something you could do to tailor your product to that marketplace. That can also be very useful and very impactful.
Do you have an example for that? Have you modified your products for specific markets in a different kind of way?
Yeah, there's many examples. I can give you one funny one. So we, for one of our pillows, we looked at expanding into Germany back in the day. We looked at all the competitive landscape, looked at a lot of the reviews of our soon-to-be competitors, and analyzed them with our computer science mindset, put them all into an Excel sheet, and then we looked at, okay, which ones have actual statistical significance in terms of the complaints that the customers have or the improvement suggestions. It turns out that German customers actually prefer slightly firmer pillows than other marketplaces like consumers in, say, Spain or France or even the UK. So the shipment that we made and the product that we made for the German marketplace, we actually made work with our manufacturer to make the pillow slightly firmer and harder. And I think that worked very well.
Cool. Sounds good. And was there also a marketplace where you said in the beginning, or where you were hesitant in the beginning to go there, but then also pushed yourself to not only like go where you know or can anticipate the needs of the customers? That worked out really well.
Yeah. I think initially we had some hesitation around Amazon France. Just because from our analysis of the marketplace, the consumers were looking for slightly different products, and overall the ratings were a bit tough in our category. So we had some hesitation to enter that market, but I think in the end we were pleasantly surprised by the French Amazon customers, and it's been one of our great expansion projects that's worked out very successfully.
Cool. Yeah, a good example that people should not be hesitant to just try things out and analyze the data on how you can go about it. Cool. So then I have already my last question for you before we get Alina as our global selling expert on board. And my last question for you for today would be, what are your absolute top tips? We have talked a lot about global selling now, but what would you really recommend other sellers that want to expand globally?
Yeah, there's obviously thousands of different tips I'd love to give. If I had to boil it down to, let's call it the top three tips, I would say, one, joining a mastermind or a group of peers. Secondly, would be to think creatively and differently. And thirdly would be to reach out to other people who have done what you want to do. So in terms of the mastermind, the first point, I think that's invaluable to network and get to know other sellers who are going through the same struggles and the same ups and downs as you, and who are most likely also are looking to expand globally and internationally with Amazon. So joining a mastermind or a peer group can be super valuable from what I've seen. Then I would say thinking differently and creatively. That means you need to differentiate your products, right, on the marketplace. So come up with creative ways. I hinted at a few of them to tailor your products to the new marketplace and to really think outside of the box to become successful at expanding globally. And then thirdly, I would say I get lots of messages pretty much every week from sellers who are asking for help and tips on how to expand internationally, and I love talking to sellers. So reaching out to other people who you look up to or who have done what you want to do, and asking them for help, and then seeing what are the things that they learned along the way that you can avoid, and what are the things that they did well that maybe you can double down on. Yeah, I would say those are probably my top three tips. Obviously, there's thousands of others, but yeah.
Yeah, but I really like your point on especially the mastermind and joining peers of sellers and sellers helping sellers. That's really great to hear. And although you have shared some examples, one additional question on the creativity part and changing aspects about your product. Have you also made changes to the product detail pages in the different marketplaces, apart from the language, of course?
Yeah, it depends, right? Because there are certain rules within Amazon's PDP and ASIN creation guidelines. So you'll have to look those up on the help pages to ensure that the product is still consistent globally. But there are certain things you can change for the local marketplaces. Amazon recently rolled out or launched the country-specific images tool, where you can now upload, say, in Spain, you can upload Spanish listing images, so you can speak to the Spanish consumer which is a great help to communicate some of those specific issues that you address in those marketplaces.
Cool. Yeah, then we are already at the end then. Thank you. And then I
Thank you
would
so much.
say, thank you. We can have Alina join our group. And I would ask Alina to answer some of the questions or frequently asked questions from sellers that are rather operational as well when it comes to global selling, because there are some. And the first question for you, Alina, would be the question, do I need to register my brand also in other regions when I expand globally and in order to have access to brand tools and also brand protection?
Yes, so this is a quite easy answer here because it is not necessary to have or set up a US company when expanding to the US. Both local and foreign business entities are accepted for registration, and there's like different reasons why some selling partners want to set up a company, a US company, when expanding to the US, but it is not a necessity. So you can be operating or based in Germany and expand with your German entity and your German bank account.
Cool, thank you. I see I have jumped the first question, but you have provided the correct answer, so that's great. Thank you. Now coming to the second frequently asked question, which is, I asked the question again, do I need to register my brand in other regions to have access to brand benefits and also brand protection?
Yes, so that's a really good question. So as a brand owner, all brand owners get like access, especially in the US, to very powerful US brand tools. And I'm checking right now. So it's a total of 8 brand tools that you will get as a brand owner in the US. Among them, the brand analytics, manage experiments, but also customer reviews, custom engagement, virtual bundles. And these tools are really powerful, as I said. Also, regarding the brand analytics, I don't know if everyone has worked, for example, with Google Analytics, but you would know how dense the insights are that you can get from this tool, and it's similar with brand analytics in Amazon US. So you all know brand analytics from the European marketplaces, but in the US, the insights are even more dense. So you can get socio-demographic insights on your customers to really build and build targeted ads to really reach them. So yeah, you can really make use of these brand tools in the US and leverage them. And we recommend to register your brand also via the USPTO, so the United States Patent and Trademark Office. However, there is for the US an simplified way of doing it. We have this whitelisting process in place where brand owners having their brands registered in EU can have their brands transferred to the US. So your account manager can transfer the brands that you have in Europe to the US so that you are a brand owner and have the brand owner rights right from the beginning in the US. This process was put in place, to basically make your lives easier, to enable you to be faster and to act faster. Of course, this only provides like protection on Amazon.com. If you wish to sell omnichannel outside of Amazon, you will need to get a trademark. But for starting selling on Amazon.com, your account manager can support you with the brand transfer.
Thanks, Alina. And also probably a question for making sellers' lives easier would be the next one on how they can actually link an account.
Yes, so linking accounts means that you have two accounts. You have a European and a US account in this case. I work on US expansion, so we're just going to stick to this example of US expansion. So linking accounts, as I said, is when you have a US account and a EU account that you would like to merge. In order to do so, you would have to register for a US account. Now, you can also register right from the beginning for a linked account. So yeah, you have this whole merge right from the beginning. I don't know if everyone is able to access Seller Central, but if you are, you can just quickly follow me while I'm doing this here as well. You could click into inventory and then in the drop-down menu in sell globally. Mm, and when you do that, usually Europe as a standard marketplace will be shown here on this page. And you can see that there are more tabs there. So we have Americas, Asia Pacific, we have Middle East and North Africa. And what you can do is, let's say we want Americas in our example. If you click on it, you will see that there's two ways on how to register. On the left-hand side, there is you do have a North American seller account and you want to link them. This is how you link an existing US seller account that you have on top of your EU seller account. However, if you want to register and directly have a linked account, you click on the right hand side where it says I don't have a North American selling account and register now. My suggestion would be to create a linked account right from the beginning because first of all, you will have everything in one site. So you have this one seller account with two different merchant tokens, US and European. Plus, the other benefit is you will only have to pay the monthly fee once for this one united account. There are different reasons why some selling partners want to have separate accounts. If you wanted to have a separate US account, you would have to register via sell.amazon.com. It's the regular website where you would register for a separate US account. And if you then wanted to merge those accounts, if you wanted to link them, what the question is here, you would click again here into inventory, sell globally, and instead of clicking on the right hand side where it says I don't have a North American selling account, you would click on the left. So you do have one and you want to merge them. And then you will be guided through this process of merging both accounts.
Thanks a lot for the detailed explanation and guiding everyone through the process, Alina. The next question would be, what is the easiest way to create listings in other marketplaces, as there are also different kinds of ways you can do that? So what would you recommend here?
Yes, so there's, as you said, different ways of creating listings, and it also always depends on what the use case is. Whether you want to expand with 3 to 5 ASINs or like 100 ASINs or even more. So it really depends, but there's different ways. So you can list manually, and that would be via inventory and add a product. You all know this procedure. You can either add the ASINs one by one, or you can use flat files to upload several ASINs at once. There's also a tool that we have, a integrated software, which is called Build International Listings, short BIL. And with this tool, you can transfer the inventory from one marketplace into another one. This works best with UK. So let's say you have active inventory in the UK, you can transfer it into the US. My suggestion, or if you ask me for my opinion, I would always say try and list manually because that way you have a fresh start. You can just add the content, you know what you're uploading, and yeah, you have the full power over it. So my suggestion really from my experience would be to have a fresh start, to download the inventory that you have maybe in UK or whatever your main marketplace is, and then to transfer it manually into the marketplace, target marketplace where you want to expand into. And there's also two more tips that I have here when it comes to listing. So one of them is to really make sure that you have the correct measurements and the correct dimensions. This sounds obvious, but it happens it happens often that you forget to change the measurements and the dimensions. So we're talking about kilograms, pounds, inches, centimeters, because this will lead to a good customer experience and in the end ultimately increase your sales. So that's really important. Another important aspect is to make sure that you have the approval to sell certain products, brands, and categories. So let's say you want to sell supplements in the US or pet products or baby products, you will need to get the FDA approval. And there's many more possible approvals that you need to get for your products depending on the locale that you want to expand to. And again, here I would stress the the service provider network that we mentioned a few times today. You can find it in Seller Central when you click into Partner Network and then into Explore Services. And when you select the service compliance, you can get all the needed information to really make sure you are compliant with your products in the store marketplace that you want to expand into.
Very important point. And maybe Ben, on the part of easiest way to list your products, from your experience, is there also something that you might want to share with selling partners?
Yeah, I think Alina mentioned the BIL, so the Build International Listings tool. I think that's the easiest, most straightforward way to go about it in terms of the setup. And then again, like I said, working with Amazon Partner Services to help with translations and the imagery and the actual listing setup.
Cool. All right. Then coming to the last question is, what are actually the packaging and labeling requirements when you expand to the US? Do they have to adapt their products when they do so?
Yes, so that's also a very important question and something to take into consideration when expanding. It is, however, difficult to state generically because packaging and labeling requirements are, obviously heavily dependent on the products that you sell. So you will have to adapt your labeling according to the locale to the local requirements. And for that, we have different help pages on Seller Central that you can find that you will also be provided with. There are tips, or there's a practical advice from my side. You can have a look at competitors. So again, in our example, when you want to expand to the US, my advice would be to look at one of those products in the US, order them to get a first orientation on packaging, labeling, and all these requirements. Another tip again here is the service provider network that I just mentioned. As I said, you can select the service compliance to get support on what is needed in terms of packaging, labeling, what needs to be on the product, how does it have to look like to really be fully compliant and expand.
Cool. Ben, do you have anything to add to that, or everything mentioned?
I think everything was mentioned. On the compliance, I do think it's important not only looking at packaging, but oftentimes there's registrations with the local governments that have to happen to get into lists, and certain testing requirements that, even though they may not be required directly to sell, if the government or the local health authorities or the local authorities were able to inspect your products and your companies, you should show record of those tests in place. So just know that it is very valuable to get specific expert advice per country for the compliance requirements.
Perfect. Okay, so Thanks again for everyone who was joining today. Thanks especially to Ben and Alina for answering all the questions. And in case you would like to expand globally and you would like to get free account management support, you can reach out to the mentioned email address here, or you can also directly scan the QR code. And please, while you type or write the mail, please mention which region you want to expand to so that our teams can assign you to the correct account manager. And as I have also promised, I'm sharing right now the email address you can reach out to for Amazon Landing. You should see it in the chat right now. Plus, you should see attachments in the right-hand side in the panel about global selling that you can download. And they are also available in Seller University in other languages if you would prefer those. They are also available in German, in Italian, French, and Spanish, plus also other videos on how to expand globally, the different steps you need to take. And for all brand owners who are listening, there's also dedicated resources for brand owners on how to build, how to advertise, and how to protect your brand. All right. Then I wish everyone a nice rest of the day, and thanks again for joining. See you soon. Bye.